Nintendo is suing Yuzu, and if this is a just world, Nintendo will lose. Unfortunately, Nintendo is a huge company. They have a lot of money. The world's not always just. Emulation is a way of preserving media when the developers are refusing or are unable to do so. And thousands of games are no longer playable on current consoles. If you go back and look at things like turbo graphics, at 3DO, Saturn, uh, and even Nintendo systems like the Nintendo Entertainment System, most of those games are not playable on current consoles. You can't play them unless you find a physical copy, which can be excruciatingly difficult. So preservation is very important. That's why things like archive.org exist. Preserves humanity's various contributions, things that might not necessarily be important to you, but at some point they were important to somebody, and they may be important to many people reaching out in the future. The only way that humans learn is by understanding where we came from, and that includes in the gaming space. Companies like Nintendo, they've kind of proven through their actions, they don't really care about that. They care about making money. People might say, well, they're a business. They're supposed to only care about money. But that minimalizes the impact and importance of games and culture outside of monetary gain. Games are about bringing joy, wonder, and expression to the world. In a world of increasingly more information where the darkness is becoming more visible, that's one of the most important things that exists. Even people in the worst possible situations are able to experience some form of joy due to emulation being available for them. It's very cynical to place the importance of the dollar above those ideals. And that's the move that Nintendo is choosing to make. They'd rather make it more difficult for people to enjoy their products in the way that they would like to, than lose a few dollars doing something like a frivolous lawsuit. It's important to note that Sony has already lost an emulation lawsuit. They failed to bring the appeal to that lawsuit to the Supreme Court. So many people would say this has already set a precedent for emulation. And that would probably suggest this were to go to court again, emulation would win. And that's because emulation doesn't infringe on copyright. In order to use an emulator, you have to have firmware. That means you have to have already bought the console in question in order to use the emulator. Emulators don't supply you access to that firmware. They don't supply you access to games. You have to have a copy of the game and then use that in order to emulate the game. There is no illegal action that takes place within that which is supported by the developer of the emulator. And I think that is very important, so I will repeat that. There is no illegal action condoned or taken by the creator of the emulator. Therefore, this lawsuit should not have even happened, let alone go through and favor Nintendo. But Nintendo is attempting to use its large budget to bully the creators of the emulator into giving in. Because in order to fight a lawsuit like this, you have to pay money. And that's the way that the system works. The rich are able to bully those with less and are doing what they want them to do. And this is just another example of that. I've enjoyed Nintendo's games just as much as anyone else for a long time. So it saddens me to see their lack of understanding and care for their users. And in my opinion, if they would like less people to emulate their games, they should make a better product. People use Yuzu because they can play their favorite games in a way that Nintendo systems do not currently let them, which honestly should be flattering. People love their games so much, they choose to take their own precious time and devote it to elevating those games, giving them better textures, making them run better, giving you tons of different mods without getting paid. So, Nintendo, for one of many times now in the past, likely in the future, where you decide to make a dumb decision, salutes in the comments for Smash Brothers Melee tournaments that lie crush at your feet. Fuck you. Maybe consider your consumers when you make decisions like this that erode trust and make the lives of people worse. You can do so much better.